There we go, and it looks like we are, in fact, off to the races. We'll see if we can't get that, see if we can't get that scene switched over in a couple seconds here, but in the meantime, it's just Hyrule Castle. We've seen it. We know it. But what I'm also seeing is that DT's using my favorite sprite in the game, the Microsoft cursor, and you'll love to see it. Nothing too exciting coming out of Uncle's tunnel quite yet. And yep, as Courage Pope in chat points out, DT also has the Mr. Saturn number font on his timer there. We're all about the memes here today. Another heart container there. Certainly doesn't hurt to have a little early health there. And, yeah, apologize for the view there. We're pinging our wonderful volunteers behind the scenes to try to get that resolved. In the meantime, just 20 bucks there in the boomerang chest. And DT heading into the ball and chain guard. Well, very nice, getting him right over near the door. Just these little time saves. Looks like sk00pula having just a little bit more trouble, but nothing too terrible. And just a map there in Zelda Cell. And of course, chat, as they are wont to do, already speculating about all of the horrible things that the item placement logic could do to our runners. And there we go. Big thanks once again to Professor Pixie, hitting buttons in the background, and also to our lovely SpeedGaming volunteers who are always here to help us resolve these issues. And it looks like DT getting just a couple seconds ahead here. And it's funny in this escape sequence. We can see these runners just going neck and neck, following the same route, and seeing all those tiny little time saves. Just things like efficiently fighting the guard, just efficiently taking care of that ball and chain guard. All those little time saves do add up over the course of a race, but it's not often that we really get to see the direct result of those little time saves. And we did indeed get that. Get some bomb drops from the enemies there on sk00pula's side. So sk00pula getting a little bit of a reward for farming enemies a little bit. Still nothing super exciting in the chests quite yet. But that might wind up being another one of those nice little time saves for sk00pula if DT has to go out of his way to farm bombs too much here. And that's another heart container there in the sanctuary. Taking a look at Bonk Rocks here. Yeah, 6 hearts. Very nice to have this early in the game when you're still only rocking a fighter sword. Of course, these are both talented and experienced runners. They should have no problem with even lower percent loadouts than this. And that does look to be a bow there in the lumberjack spot. Could be an Agaseed. We did get a map check. We know that at the very least that bow will be required for Eastern. Or I should say, a bow will be required for Eastern. We don't know whether it will be that bow. And there's a Master Sword there in the mushroom spot. In answer to a question in chat, this is progressive bow. So entirely possible that that will wind up being silver arrows and another bow will be elsewhere. But it's also entirely possible that that other bow could be hiding in Ganon's tower, and that will be the bow that we need to collect that Eastern Palace crystal. And yep, sure enough, DT having to do just a little bit of bomb farming. Gonna go ahead and peace out after 2. Hope to find more in the village here. Giving sk00pula a chance to make up a little ground here, but it's still such early days. We haven't seen any meaningful divergence in routing, so anything at all can still happen. And ooh, and there's the tempered sword and the butter. Okay. All those nice little safety items just showing up. Gonna make things nice and easy for our runners here. No worries about low percent execution. And yep, as chat pointing out, bow-locked bow also entirely possible in this mode. So entirely possible we find that second bow on Helmasaur, on Armos Knights. There's the powder there in the Kakariko Village well. Also the blue cane and even more health. Not a whole lot of progression here yet as we bring our Kakariko Village visit to a close. Yep, just more bombs in the pub there. We're going to take a look in the library. We're going to take a look at the race game, and then that's where we might get a chance for some divergence. DT is going to opt to stop for that $300 in the library. Looks like somebody in town's been racking up some late fees, and the library's just been raking it in. But that's going to go to our runners today, bringing them both closest to Zora money. I blinked and I missed that race game item, but it looks like... Oh, that's the hook shot! All right, so not progression quite yet, not without some other pieces of that puzzle, but a very nice convenience item to have early. It's going to let our runners check the stun prize. Nothing that would pull our runners too far out of the normal route from this point, which would usually be South Shore. And that does seem to be where DT's going. For a second there, I thought sk00pula might be opting to skip the dam for the moment. That's in the main tournament this year, I noticed a few runners opting to skip the dam, go straight to Mini Moldorm Cave, and that way they have one more thing to potentially pull them back. Ooh, and that's a glove in the dam. Well, they're glad they didn't skip it at this point. That does open up illogical mountain access, but with that hook shot, there's lots of stuff that could be hiding up there. And sk00pula is going to go ahead and leave Mini Moldorm Cave behind. This is our first meaningful bit of divergence here. Going to go ahead and check that Desert Hermit. Going to give us a look at the ledge first. Just 10 arrows on the ledge. Meanwhile, we've got a shovel, a fire rod, a bow, bombos, and 10 arrows here in Mini Moldorm Cave. Absolutely loaded Mini Moldorm Cave there. So, yep, it is looking less and less likely that we are going to see that bow on Lumberjack. And I'm afraid that I blinked and I missed what was in the Desert Hermit today. Nothing much there in Ice Rod Cave. DT is opting to walk out here. I didn't see if he set up a water walk. Yes, he did. All right. So we're going to see some mild sequence breaking here. Chat quite rightly pointing out that we could still see an Agaseed for Dark World access. All we need is a lamp to put that in logic at this point. Oh, and that's rough. DT getting that unlucky fourth heart piece that canceled his water walk. So we're going to have to wait until later to see what that second item there in the Waterfall Fairy is. But for now, DT's looking like he's making an Eastern Palace play. And thank you, chat, for pointing out that it was just $50 there in the Desert Hermit. I might rely on you to get some eyeballs on things like that. It's been a while since I've done this, and commentating solo is not always the easiest job. But that is a book there in Sage's closet, so that'll make that'll be a slight bit of routing efficiency for DT. Should he decide to make that desert play, does have the fire source, does have the gloves, but it is a pendant. So for now, he's opting to head into the Crystal Dungeon of Eastern Palace, which is completable. And oh, I did not notice that lamp. Okay. Well, that changes things now, doesn't it? Because that puts Pyramid, the Pyramid Pearl into logic. That legendary pearl on the pyramid. And it looks like sk00pula setting up. Yeah, that's I don't believe this works. sk00pula did a splash delete fake flipper setup, but unfortunately, you got to be water walking to get that chest. Now, you can do that if you have the Moon Pearl, but we're still searching for that. Oh, and that's another glove there in Zora area. So that Splash Delete knowledge might still come in handy, but first we're going to see what the big scam fish has for us. Because that extra 50 bucks did put Scopula in Zora range as far as purchasing power goes. Yep, that's just another scam, and he's not gonna try the trickier Splash Delete ledge move. Gonna go ahead and save and quit and just put that knowledge away for later. Still, that's some valuable knowledge to have. You could reasonably see DT putting that off for a while since he's already been to that area once. And in a worst-case scenario, if that winds up being the key to Dark World access, that could be a really nice piece of knowledge for Scopula. And we haven't gotten anything too exciting out of Eastern here, but, you know, you're going to have to clear it eventually anyway. It is that crystal. I have not been counting items. I'm not sure if we're going to have one on the boss or not. And yeah, DT walking right past the Rupee Room, which would have put him back into Zora range, so it looks like he's kind of putting Zora out of his mind, at least in the near future. And I see we've got a party of Raiders joining us. Welcome, Raiders. This is a Link to the Past Randomizer Casual Boots Tournament brackets match here between DT and Scopula, two very talented runners. Both came in first in their respective group stages with a 5-1 record, so should have a pretty close match here. Very nice, clean execution there on the Armos fight. DT getting off the quick kill and making it look easy. The big difference between our runners at this point is that Scopula scouted out the Zora ledge where we know that there is the Titan's Mitts hiding. DT got an unfortunate fourth heart piece that canceled his water walk, causing him to save and quit out of that area, so it may be a while before he returns for that. And it looks like DT is headed up the mountain. Good game knowledge, remembering that those pickle men are in fact vulnerable to Butter Sword. Anything below that would have given DT a nasty shock there. And this mountain climb on DT's part is definitely the density play. The other strong option here would have been a Desert Palace play, which is clearable, but it is a pendant. Ooh, and we've got a mirror-locked hammer up there on Spectacle Rock. Very interesting. So right now we have logical Dark World access, but no Moon Pearl yet. Through AGA 1, obviously we would prefer to avoid that if we can. But we also have knowledge of a mirror-locked hammer and a flippers-locked, logically at least, a flippers-locked Titan's Mitts. Now, Scopula already demonstrated his knowledge of the Splash Delete glitch. So, logically, Flipper's locked. Doesn't necessarily need it. And that's a blue mail there in Paradox Cave for DT. Let's see what else he finds up here. Or down here, as the case may be. That's why it's a paradox. Bunch of nothing so far. All right, and Scopula taking the save and quit after clearing out that Armos fight. Looks like he's also going to be heading towards the mountain. And this spiral cave, kind of our last chance for this mountain climb to pay off. That knowledge of the hammer location is nice to have, but you'd really rather have progression if you can have it. And with just 10 arrows, you can go through Aga for Pyramid Ledge, but I think the more sensible route at this point is to take that book down to Desert. And that may very well be DT's plan, but before he does that, if he does that, he's going to see what this shovel has to offer. And there's a mirror. Nice find for DT. He's going to be able to go collect that hammer and also, not for nothing, get into Tower of Hera for another crystal. And chat saying Aga dead. I'm not sure that that's the case. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you'd still need to go through Aga to get to Pyramid, right? So, could be that legendary Moon Pearl on Pyramid. Just a piece of heart there on the Hera tablet. Let's see what Tower of Hera has in store for us today. And we've got a French vanilla Moon Pearl. There's our Dark World access. Now Aga is officially dead. So still short of a half an hour into this seed. Lot of seed left to go. Right now, DT seems to have a pretty decent little lead, but it's still early days. And there hasn't been too terribly much divergence in our runners yet. In fact, I think the big cause of this apparent lead is just that Scopula made a slightly gambly, slightly out-of-the-way play to the Desert Hermit. Did not get paid out for that.